This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. Welcome to everyone to the Halftime Show on Pulse 95 Radio with your boy Omar Adori here, hosting you in the heart of Sharjah. Thank you very much for connecting and hope you are having a fantastic day. Right, what's coming up on the show today? Stephen Taylor is coming up on the show today with Coach Mo from Gulf United FC. Now, not only are they friends of the show, but they're people that we've obviously been following their journey since they started. So it's going to be great to ask them all about what it's like to be in the UAE Pro Division. What's the coaching like? How do you identify talent? And also, we might even ask them a few questions about Newcastle as well. Now, that's not the only thing that's happening in Sharjah, because in Pulse 95 Radio, live from City Centre Sharjah, a special Ramadan live show every Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 11 in Ramadan. Total value of prizes is 45,000 dirhams during the whole month of Ramadan. So make sure you go check it out. It's going to be great. It's also the fact that you get to go down, have some fun, chill, and you got the best people there. Pulse 95 Radio, they're going to be there and they're going to be live. So make sure you check it out on Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 11. Let's take a quick break. And when we get back, let's get these guests on the show.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Adori. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international and local. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in around the world, whether it's 95 FM, pulse95radio.com, our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, or if you're chilling at home, watching us live on YouTube. Now, coming up on the show today, we've got the Gulf United family here. We've got Stephen Taylor and Coach Mo here. So let's get a bit of a... Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And they are here. Welcome, boys. How you guys doing?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Great to have you guys. I've obviously been following your journey from the get-go. It's been great. I got to ask you, Coach Mo, I'm going to start with you first. Regarding Gulf United, before we brought the big man on board here, you guys have obviously started from scratch, but how has the rise been for Gulf United?
It's been some journey. Start with that. The idea and the objective was to bring opportunities to the kids of the UAE. And that was where the vision started. And I think football in the UAE has evolved in the short time that we've been here, and we've loved being part of that journey. Even with COVID in the middle, I think we've seen a rise in just providing opportunities for kids, providing a place where they can come and develop and have real opportunities, surrounded by people who really know what they're talking about.
Absolutely. And then I've seen the start, I've seen the present as well, and then you brought this man here on board, and you brought him in when you guys were in... Before you came into Division 3.
Before we became a professional club.
Yeah, before you became a professional club. Stevie, how has it been coming into the setup and then obviously watching Gulf United grow?
I'll go back to day one. I think when Coach Mo brings me down to the trialists, as we're first seeing about 150 kids, and to see the platform that he created down there, and to pick a squad was something as good. It was all the help behind the scenes that obviously Coach Mo has to deal with and does, and just leaves it to it on the pitch and deal with the players, and to try and get the different mentalities, different characters, but the right fit as well. Bearing in mind we had a bunch of probably 30 bunch of misfits, but it just worked together. Literally, that's what I think created the start of something special, because it was the chances that these guys give from obviously a lot of players from Africa.
Yeah.
And when you see that, when you come down and watch the academy and you see behind the scenes, you go, yeah, I see what you're doing here now. And obviously the UAE kids, giving them a chance, and then to get the coaching from a European style, something different that's been done out here.
Let's talk about styles, actually. You've come over here, obviously, on board. You've come into the setup. You brought on your flavour to what they have here already. How has it been bringing in all those different cultures and flavours into one plate?
Probably the best thing I did was 7 years ago, once I ventured out of Newcastle, going across to America, Australia, New Zealand and India, seeing different kind of cultures, understanding different characters. And I think that put me in good stead for especially the players out here now, who probably have come from bad backgrounds, or they haven't had chances, and the opportunity that growth have given them, not to concentrate on any, housing problems. These guys look after their housing, their feed, and making sure everything's taken care of. Just worry about your football. And for me to just be able to deal with that, because I've seen it over in India and especially in New Zealand, players struggling to you see the effect on the football pitch, training, all coming miserable. You don't want that. And what we've created now is a massive, very positive environment. but one that players want to go to the next level, and that belief of seeing the platform work, which players have gone abroad and who have moved up into the UAE as well, which is nice.
Let's talk about environment, Coach Mo, when it comes down to getting them right off the pitch so they can perform on the pitch. How important is that, and how have you guys managed to do that so well?
So, the secret sauce, as we call it, is culture. And there's something that even before Stevie was on board with Gulf, it was so important, and we believe that it starts with the staff at the club and the decisions that we make. We never cut any corners anywhere, right? And when we're leading the way and we're doing 100%, we're always giving 100%, then that trickles down to the players. And when we don't give them any excuses, the best pitches, the best kits, everything. So it's kind of like we don't have any excuses now. We have to give 100% because everybody else around us, the coaching staff, all the way down to the kit man, they're giving 100%. So, the culture is the key component, and Stevie's come in and brought a bit of a different style to what they've seen before on and off the pitch. But everybody just gives 100%, and that is what I believe is the difference between us and basically everybody else is the culture.
And how many teams do you guys have? Because I've seen the amount of players you guys have got.
Yeah. So our junior section, that goes from 7 all the way to 12. I think in total we have about 15 teams from under 8s, 10s, 12s, all the way up to the 23s and the first team. But it's a full bottom to top process, and if you join at the age of 10 or 11, the idea is that eventually you could be playing under Coach Stephen Taylor, maybe in the First Division or the Arabian Gulf, in the future. And it's just the pathway.
Yeah, that sounds great. I also wanted to ask you guys before we take a quick break, and you can both answer this. When you start to look at a player and they've come in for trials, and I've been there on your trial days, right? You come in, what do you look for?
For me, it's attitude.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. Because everybody has a bad day, right? Even us, we're not perfect people, but it's to see how you respond to that. And Stevie always said from the get-go, I'd rather have somebody who's a little bit worse, but is going to give me 100% all the time. And obviously, there's the technical and tactical components, which are huge. But the very first thing is, I would say, attitude and fitness. They're the cornerstones, and everything else we can sort of build on. From my perspective.
Like you said there, for me it's the effort. He can lose a little bit of ability, but if you're going to give the team 100%, because I don't want a team full of good individuals. I need everyone to come together, and that's why I think we've been very lucky with the group that we have, and especially the characters is big for me as well. You can tell by the character of the player. Sometimes they have got a little bit of attitude, but if they can back it up, but also a good character with the group, I can accept that. But if you're going to be a bad egg or a virus around the camp, see you later.
Fantastic. Right, before we talk about back-to-back promotions, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere, folks.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show, and if you're just joining in, kicking yourself for missing the show, don't worry, catch all of our episodes on YouTube, Pulse 95 Radio, or if you prefer a podcast, head over to Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and you get to see these legends here, right there on the podcast. Welcome to the show, boys. Listen, before the break, we were talking about Gulf United, what it takes to be a member of Gulf United. Now, what I want to also pick your brains on, which is fascinating, this is not normal, is back-to-back promotions and entering the UAE Pro League setup. Steve, I want to start with you this time. How was that? A new playground, a different setup for you to bring Gulf United into Division 3, if I'm not mistaken, first. What was that like, and how was your first season there?
For me, it's about the core. If we can get we had a lot of English boys, and for me, if we get the core right, it gives the guidance for the young players, and that was the biggest thing, is they need guidance. And you can see the league, everybody else went very young, so it's a bit of a risk. But I think coming here, and what you want to do is develop the players to move on, and you don't want them to be here more than a year. You want to try and give them a chance, platform, see you later. For me, the first year was very successful because of the experienced boys that we have. I think that goes from the goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, number 10 and the striker. We had that core, which gives the platform unbelievable chance, and I think that was down to our biggest success for the young players coming through, is seeing that on the pitch. I had like 5 or 6 managers on the pitch. For me, when you got leaders on the pitch like that, your job is done. I think you learn that from your early ages, especially at Newcastle, is having that core and experience, helping the young boys, and you get your success from that. Then can you do it again is the biggest thing. Is you need a similar sort of model, but you need some legs in there as well. And you need guys who are brain smart. I think moving up in the leagues, very athletic players you're going to come against, but I don't think game management, they were as clever as what we were, I think, and that's down to the players as well. Now, as I obviously coach more, what he does behind the scenes, we give the players the tools, but they go and deliver. Now, we don't head the balls, we don't go through the tackles, the cuts on the head and all the stuff that they have to go through, but listen, it's very difficult. I'll always try and train the players harder than the play, so games become easier for them. And I'll always try and put them in uncomfortable scenarios where you're winning 1-0, you're losing 1-0, and you're drawing. And just so the lads understand the game plan. I think tactics is the biggest thing out here, and I think it needs to be coached at an early age as well. So they're not just getting to 16 and 21 and then realising, tactically we need to be doing this. So I think I look back at Newcastle and what do they do now? And from a very early age, it's about the tactics. But this has been going on for years in Holland. Speaking to Wijnaldum, and he was saying back at the Ajax days, PSV, everybody, 9 years old, you have to learn tactics. And I think for the UAE kids now, to give them a platform for the future, and for UAE football as well, I think will only benefit them as well. So for the UAE kids now that we have coming on board with us, it's hopefully going to help them, especially for future World Cups. Absolutely.
When you came in to the core group that was presented for you, how did you build your relationship with them so you can trust them on the pitch?
You have to have the right characters, and that's why you get the senior players on the pitch.
Yeah.
And when I first came to Dubai, I played in the amateur league out here, played against a few of these players, and you can see their mentality-wise, the characters that they were. They knew they were going to come here. They don't get paid much, but they just love football, and they love being around the group of guys that we've got, and it's the culture that we've created. Coach Mo and all the staff behind the scenes, it's down to them, because if it doesn't start from the top, it ain't going to work. And I'm very lucky to be around in this kind of situation where it's just so much easier. For a manager, you don't have any headaches about things not getting done. I know the lads have got the best of the best. It gives them the perfect platform to turn up, train, ready for game day. Everything's prepared for them. They don't have to worry about nothing. All they have to do is focus on the football and enjoy it. And that's why I think we are very unique behind the scenes to any other club in Dubai.
Coach Mo, I want to ask you regarding entering the UAE Division 3. That in itself was a challenge.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
What kind of challenge did you face entering Gulf United into that?
I mean, it is something that is quite new to the UAE football system. Allowing privately owned clubs into the system is something that only happened 3 or 4 years ago now. And obviously there's a lot of people who want to enter it. You have to go and present, who you are, what you do, what your vision is. And there are so many challenges that come along the road of a professional football club. It's all well and good, but things like contracts and dealing with everything under the FIFA regulations, the FA regulations. The FA have been top. They've helped us out along the way. But like Stevie says, it's we try to do our best to make sure that all that the players and the manager can focus on is the football, and everything else is taken care of. And what that means is that we can focus on the details, the 1%. We have scouts who go and watch other teams, who we're playing next week, and will present us a report, and we'll know who the danger men are, the set pieces, and all those details. I think when you look back retrospectively at the success, are big contributing factors. There's 13 times this year we scored goals in the last 10 minutes of games. And that says a lot about preparation, but it says more about desire and hunger and how much we want it. I fundamentally believe that, we wanted it more than everyone else,
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Now, it's one thing entering Division 3, it's another thing winning Division 3, now it's another thing going to Division 2, but then doing that as well. That is no mean, feat at all to say that. Again, do you set that expectation realistically after getting promoted that you want to go and win it again?
We said that. We had the celebrations after the third division, the championship, and we said, listen, we're not going to go in there just to survive. We're going in there to win. What's it going to take to win? And it's about getting the right players in again, adding to what we've got, keeping the core kind of what we had and what's had us success, but adding quality. And that's what we did. And I think the trials, we had over 800 people come on trials, and the word was getting out in Dubai. So you're attracting a lot of noise, so you knew you're always going to be a target. So every game, it was like everybody's cup final. And that's what it felt like. We just come brand new in the league, and everyone was like, we want to beat them. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it was a big target on our backs, but the lads stood up for the challenge. And I think for everybody, all the stuff that even Coach Mo and the staff had to deal with behind the scenes, and it was like a roller coaster ride. The best way I can describe it was there was highs, there was lows, but it was one hell of a ride.
I've got to say your social media presence is crazy as well. And that's something you guys have done really well to get the name out there, but also to back it up. How important has social media contributed in getting the name out there?
It's been huge. I mean, it's quite ballsy, I would say, what we did in the third division, which was we committed to doing a YouTube docuseries, like sort of a Netflix-style show that followed the team around in the first season, and it was 13 episodes, and we went on to win it.
Okay.
And you know, that's got now over 2.5 million views.
Wow.
But at the time, we just wanted to give unrivaled access to everybody. Come and join and come and be with us in the dressing room. Like, you know, that's not something that you can generally access, and Stevie was kind enough to allow us to do that, and it's been huge to pushing our name out there. But I think, as you say, it's really important to back it up. It's all well and good having a glitzy brand with lots of big names attached to it, and you know, we have the biggest names. We've had Paul Pogba, Zinedine Zidane, Kaka, Casillas, you name it, but you have to back it up with the performances, you know, and I think for us that's the fundamental building block. And we always know that. We never just do anything for show. Like, everything is fundamentally for development and for the players. And then, obviously, we make sure that everything's documented in the way that we believe it should. And it's underpinned by the idea that we want to behave like a professional team. You know, we ask, if Chelsea can do it, Man United can do it, why can't we do it?
Chelsea, yeah?
Yeah.
Stevie, you come across as someone that's quite old school, based on hard work, ethics, principles. How have you adapted to the new style of things, like welcoming social media into your setup?
Yeah, this is how modern day football is. You've got to realise that and go with the times, and you see how big TikTok, Instagram, everything is out there for young kids.
Have you got a TikTok?
No, not TikTok. I've got no TikTok. I'm pretty old school with that.
I had to ask him.
Listen, if my old teammates in management knew that,
it's in his new contract for next year.
They'll be on me. But no, I think you've got to be with the times. The young kids now that are on TikTok, the Instagrams, and that's why golf relates to so many young kids. And that's what I think especially after training, you see all our young players, especially, they get involved in that. But that's something you got to allow it, and it's part of the game now. Yeah,
top man. All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we're talking to Gulf United about modern day football and also what they would do if they had certain players in their team. Don't go anywhere, folks. See you after this.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Sure, is that time. We're having a good time here on the Halftime Show. Thank you very much for tuning in. And if you are lucky enough to watch us on Instagram Live as well, then you get the conversation behind the scenes. And I have to say, it's just as good as on air. Right, okay. We were talking about the modern day game, and we were talking about certain players. Now, I'm going to throw some players your way, and I want you to let me know, A, how you would deal with them personally, and B, what would it take to get the best out of them, right? Okay, so let's start off with one we started off air a bit earlier, Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I'm going to start with you, seeing you as a defender. Yeah?
I think in the style of a 4-3-3 that they play, for me, he has to play as a right back.
Okay.
And he's always going to be targeted now, because everything, all the media, the social media, all the reels that you see with Trent, he's very heavily criticised with his defending wise.
Yeah.
But you look when you're going forward, and me and Coach Mo were talking about, you've got to pick your moments. And I think for him, he offers you so much as a player, but on the other back end of it, defensively, he has cost Liverpool some goals, but I still stick to him at right back. You just got to give him that loving and trust that you're going to keep playing him. A lot of managers will probably bring him out, and if he makes one or two mistakes, but I think he's a confidence player, and if he's got that bit of loving, I'm sure he'll be good.
Does he have enough protection?
I don't think he's got protection. I think with the world-class quality of obviously Salah going forward, he isn't going to be getting back every time. For example, you've got Almiron at Newcastle, whose protection for Kieran Trippier at right back is phenomenal, and I don't think Salah offers that. But he will always be isolated, and that's a 1v1 or 2v1 battles he's going to have to deal with.
Coach Mo, if you were dealing with Trent off the field, because your speciality is that, how would you deal with him off the field to ensure his mental health isn't affected?
I think knowing where players stand is something which is universally quite underrated. For a player to know that, listen, you are our first choice. These are the challenges realistically that you're going to face, because this is the system we're choosing to play. And riding the highs and the lows. It's really easy to get on top of people when, you know, you concede a certain goal or you're out of position. But to be there when that's there, then, you know, when they fly high, as we always say to the players, when something goes wrong, it's our fault. But when something goes right, it's all on you. You take all the praise. So just, I think, to answer your question, letting him know you're the first choice. You're going to play either way. you just have to deal with it in whatever way that you think is best. And we're going to try and protect you how we can, but realistically you've got one of the world's best attacking players in front of you, so you're going to have a bit of added responsibility, so you just have to learn to deal with it.
Do you guys spread the responsibility over someone like, for example, Jordan Henderson, and say that you need to cover more the right side, or do you keep Jordan Henderson on what he does best and try not to distort his game?
It's a big thing. Obviously, he's the captain leader, and for me, I'd say Trent's going through a hard time. You play out your skin. You're gonna have to come and do your sacrifice, and whether it's for 5, 6, 7 games, you're gonna have to do that to protect one of your teammates. Sometimes you have to do that in games when you're having a tough time, especially one of your players. You do need that, and I've seen that over my years as well, where someone's having a tough time and he gets a lot more protection. But you have to do that. That's why we're team game.
Next one is Mitrovic. How would you, as a teammate, firstly, how would you deal with Mitrovic? And how would you get the best out of him without him losing his head?
Well, I played with him, so
that's why I asked you.
When he first signed for Newcastle, he was very a lot of defenders didn't like him.
Right.
He was no nonsense. He just put himself about. But then I think as he grew into the league, but he kind of needs a bit of protection, a bit of loving as well. Because when things go tough and things are going hard, it's very difficult because he's got a fuse that just goes.
Yeah.
And when it goes, it's very hard to control it. And that's just like characters and personality that he is. But you never want to take that away because that's what gives him the edge for me.
Yeah. Coach, I'm going to throw one your way. Yeah. How about someone like Mason Mount?
I think he's another one that needs love. He needs consistency. I think Mason Mount is the kind of player that is, when he's in the team, he's always going to give you a 7 out of 10, right? He's a hard worker. He does all the basics really well. I think he's the kind of player that you build a team around. And so for me, once again, giving him love, letting him know that he's a big part of the plans, the long-term plans for the club. You know, he's been at the club for a long time. Just sort of like Stevie Taylor, which is like, if he's dropping 5 out of 10 performances, he's part of the furniture. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So just to make him know that he's in the long-term plans for the club and trying to get the best out of him in whatever way that is. Working what I would say proactively rather than reactively to try and get the best out of players. If there's certain things you can add to the game, if there's certain video stuff that you can do. But I think fundamentally it comes down to the human element, which is a bit of love from the people who make the decisions.
Would you start him with all the new players that have come in?
I would. I think there's been too much chopping and changing, trying to stamp that level of authority of the new sort of ownership and the new management. Everybody's coming in, having their players and whatnot. But I think sometimes when the going gets tough, you really need to rely on your solid players who you know are going to give you a minimum of 100%.
Yeah.
And so me personally, I would.
Have you had a teammate that you've had to manage carefully as a player?
Ben Arthur.
Really?
Yeah, because we knew the speciality that he has.
Yeah.
He's a game changer, maverick. And it's probably the only player I've ever played with that you have to just accept. Sometimes he's not going to come back and defend. Sometimes he goes missing for 80 minutes. But just that moment of magic. That year we finished 5th. We had to sacrifice a lot of our game around him, and basically our game plan was around him. But the manager, Alan Pardew, said at the time, he goes, there was times he was late for meetings, but we couldn't find him because it's the personality that he is. You've got to keep him happy.
Interesting.
So that was the kind of game management and man management from a manager I thought was very good, and the players accepted it. We bought into it. We said, listen, we'll sacrifice it because we know you're going to win the game for us.
Is he the most technically gifted you played with?
Definitely, yeah, by far. I think the ability that he would do stuff in training, and you see on match days where you go, I think, from the halfway line twice, and then the stuff he used to do to world-class fullbacks was incredible. But we always knew the quality of Demba Ba, Cisse and Ben Arthur. We were going to score goals, and that's why a lot of teams, they feared us. And it was like, I think we were top of the league until December, and we had 4 major injuries, and that disturbed the whole group because we just played consistent week in, week out. We knew what we're doing, very basic. We knew we had someone who could game change it, and he was the game changer.
I've got a question here from Mohsen, who's a big Newcastle fan. And when he found out you were coming on, he was so gassed. He was telling me, listen, you got to ask him 2 questions. So I'm going to ask you the 2 questions. The first question is, how would your team with Sir Bobby fare up against the modern day Newcastle team?
The intensity in this team is absolutely phenomenal. I think from Bobby Robson's team, it was just, we were a bunch of men. There's a lot of leaders in that group, and we were more horrible. So we would get the job done in that way, but with this modern day, how quick they are, there's no way you could play a high line. So you have to accept that. And I think Newcastle obviously struggled against teams who have played quite deep. But I think from the Bobby Robson era, you've got like everyone nearly international there, and who just they were all leaders. We just had a bunch of men, and they were just horrible when you want to be. And that started in training. Like, you'd literally get kicked to hell in training. Not that much goes on now in training grounds. Very careful, but back then it was brutal.
How was Sir Bobby?
He was good. The thing is about Sir Bobby is you just don't want to let him down. He's one of them managers you just run through a brick wall. And a lot of people say, what's he like to work under? Tactical, none of that. It was just you don't want to let him down. So everyone go on that pitch and you give everything for the shirt, but for him it was just like that grander figure. Yeah. It's like when you have that family member you don't want to let down, and that was the kind of reaction he got from all of us.
Amazing. The second question he's asking here is, when are you going to join us for a game, a kickabout in Jebel Ali?
Oh, we're ready. Yeah, just tell Coach Mo to sort it out and we've done it. No problem. It's on.
Make sure you wear your shin pads.
Yeah. And helmet. Coach Mo, one for you. I'm going to throw a name that he sticks in a lot of people's brains as being the victim, but he's also someone that's quite a character. Mario Balotelli. How would you deal with Mario Balotelli?
He's how would I deal with him? I think he's one of those players, especially in his prime, where he would be one that you would probably have to get to the people around him, especially on the pitch, and say to them, listen, there's going to be moments where he does certain things that you might not like, but we all collectively need to know that this guy is going to create magic for us, right? And so not only obviously managing him and trying to get the best out of him, but speaking to the group. And this is something that sometimes needs to be done with special players. Like Stevie was saying then about Ben Arfa, we knew that he wasn't going to track back, but we knew he was also going to win us the game. And so getting the team on board to not react internally against this player, because that will then make him feel like, okay, like the guys are, even though I did something wrong, they're protecting me. There's that sense of unity, family, that okay, even if I did something wrong, they're still there for me, they're still fighting for me. Then that will give him the platform to actually, say, I'm going to give you the extra 5% because you came to give me the extra 5%. That's probably how I deal with that.
Did you ever play against him?
I'll tell you, we played against him. That was our year we finished 5th.
Okay.
So we had a good tussle, but down there at the Etihad, he was isolated a lot. They played very defensive against him. I think they just had one up front. They tried to compact the midfield with Kabay, Czech Theori. Yeah. And they had double up on Ben Arfa, I think. Right. But he was, thankfully, you keep him on the good side. I think that was the best thing. He's like when you wake Diego Costa. You've got to keep him on the happy side. If you get him mad, that's when I feel they play good. Right. So just keep talking to him and make sure he plays on the other centre half. Yeah. Just go over there, mate. Leave me alone. So you've got understanding your player you're playing against. Yeah, fantastic. Right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back for one more segment on the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95.
This is the halftime show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. And it is that time, the halftime show with Omar Adori. Thank you very much for tuning in to a fantastic show with the Gulf United family. We got Stephen Taylor and Coach Mo here in the building. And like I said, off air is just as good as on air. We were talking about a lot of things today. And the other thing I want to ask you guys as well is, what's next for Gulf United? That is the big question.
So obviously we've won the 3rd division, the 2nd division, so that's back-to-back promotions for the first ever time in the history of the UAE. So the natural thing is bring on the 1st division. Everybody seems to be asking us that question, like, what are you going to do? It's like, we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to do the same thing that we did last year, which is build a badass team and do the best that we can with what we have.
And for you, Coach?
You got to win. You only managed to win, and that's the only thing that we know. So I think bring in a group of players who are hungry, that want to go to the next level, bring in a good set of characters, some local players as well who they want to work hard, and for them as well, they want to go in the Super League. And if it gives them the opportunity to do that, let's do it.
Amazing. Got a question here from Florian, tuned in from the US, saying, what was your favourite exercise as a player, and now that you're a coach, what's the exercise that the lads hate the most?
They don't like prem runs. I think for me it was always them prem runs, long runs, which is 3 times up the pitch, up, back, and then you finish at the 18-yard box within 70 seconds. Do normally about 3 sets of 6, but with our group we'll only do about 2 sets because I don't want to smash them.
Yeah, he's so nice. Coach Mo, I need to ask you as well regarding the evolution of Gulf United and how far it's come. What is that final destination for you? Because you've literally been back-to-back promotions, and normally people, when they get promoted once, the idea is survival. For you lot, that's not the case.
Yeah.
What's next?
I think for us, we don't just see ourselves as a professional football club. It's more of a football institute. Our North Star, our objective is to give kids in the UAE of any nationality opportunities. And so long as we're doing that in whatever capacity it can be, whether it's training or it's scholarships or it's professional football, then, you know, we're doing our job. As you know, as any professional club goes, we want to go as high as we can. You know, we think we can be the first ever privately owned club in the Arabian Gulf League. We truly believe that, and we'll do whatever we can to try and push that as far as we can. But ultimately, as long as we're giving kids opportunities and we're helping to develop better young boys and girls to the community, then I think we can be happy with what we're achieving.
Amazing. Can't wait to commentate on your games. It's going to be great. Don't worry, I'll be nice. Stevie, I can't leave you without asking you about the current Newcastle team, man. How amazing have they done? And what's the inside scoop on Eddie Howe and the team right now? How are they feeling?
Yeah, I think everyone's full of confidence. You know, Newcastle team out here recently, and me and Coach Mo got invited down to watch the training as well. So to get it behind the scenes, see the boys again, see the staff again, it was great to be back there. And obviously every time I go back to the UK and get to go into training and see the guys and just to see the atmosphere around the place, the way they train, the intensity. And that's what their biggest thing is, their success is the intensity. And you can tell by the way they train, and it doesn't surprise me.
How different is it to when you were there? Massively,
yeah, 100%. I think the staff that he's got there now it's huge. Like, we were down there and there was so many staff. I think there's more staff than players. It was, but it's all behind the scenes as well. They're in early, they don't leave till late. It's not like the olden days where you come in the morning, you've done by lunchtime. It's literally all the analysis, all the behind the scenes, the recovery sessions, the injury prevention, all the kind of different stuff you've got to do now. And you see the players, I'll just say the training's massively, it's more difficult, definitely.
Detailed, isn't it? It's very detailed.
It's huge. We've got like obviously 3 pitches at Newcastle now. So obviously defenders on one, midfielders and attackers, and you don't see them until halfway through the session. It's crazy how much they go into that much detail about who they're going to play, how they're going to play against them. And it's just, I would say the way that he is as a guy, very intense, big on details, and does the basics very well.
Excellent. And that is full time on the halftime show. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. You guys have been legends. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.